Little boot update tonight, and tonight we're looking at the Red Wing Chukka, the 3140s. Bit behind on updates. I've got a few things to bring up to date for the channel. So we've got the RS setters, the 8111s here, limited edition, Gore-Tex, they're quite interesting. Also the classic Iron Rangers, the 8111s. But absolutely 6 months in, thought it was time to do the Chukkas. That is what the channel's all about. It's not just showing you the boot as it comes out of the box, it's giving you a bit of an idea about how the long-term experience with that product's going to go. So yeah, the 3140s here are nicely broken in. So I thought it was about time to share some thoughts. So to begin with, sizing, really important on Red Wings, lots of different opinions out there. Lots of advice to size down, half a size, a full size, whatever it might be. Historically, I went true to size, so certainly on the mock toes, true to size, that's the way I went, and I still stand by that. But on round toes, my absolute policy now is going down half a size. So it's been on the Blacksmiths, the Rovers, the Iron Rangers, all of them work perfectly going half a size down, and the Chukkas are no different. So the Chukkas have got a slightly more tapered toe than you'd see on most Red Wings. It's their 210 last. I think the only other place they use this last might be on the Postman, which is a low-heeled shoe. It doesn't have the ankle rise. Not really to my style, but the 210 last, and I think that's a pretty historic last Red Wing. These are one of the first boots they introduced back in 1950, a boot designed for working indoors, so not the field-based mock toes that we're more familiar with the traction tread soles. It's got a slightly different Atlas sole there. We'll get onto that when we get into the close-ups, I think. But yeah, so sizing, half a size down, absolutely perfect. Very, very happy with that. The other part of fit, obviously, is the break-in. Now, these are the Oro original. I think someone pointed out to me Oro is it would reference to the colour, a golden colour. So it's the Oro original leather in this sort of nice golden sort of tan. It's a pretty heavy leather. One of the tougher leathers that Red Wings do for sure. And my previous experience of it was with the classic mock toe, the 875s, and it was an excruciating leather to break in, really, really tough, and lots of pinches and rubs on the toes through that process. Not so much with the Chukkas. The simpler construction, certainly around the front here, means that you don't get the little creasing that you do get with the mock toe, so you don't get the pinch on your little toe so much, or that's my experience. And it's just, yeah, simple one-piece construction at the toe here, stretched out really nicely. The toe's kept its shape perfectly, but it's yielded a little on the sides there. Really pretty easy break-in, no big problems. As with all formal shoes or all sort of leather shoes, I do tend to go little and often, so I'll wear them for a half hour around the house for a few days initially, and then half days out and about and so forth, and just slowly break them in. But yeah, really actually okay on the leather there. The only thing which remains a little bit tricky is getting them on. In my original video I did note that as well. It's got a very narrow, what I'd call the throat, so the bit where you actually get your foot in there. The lacing starts relatively high up the boot, so you've got less of the boot to open up down below. If you look at these side by side with the Iron Rangers, I think you can see that on the Iron Rangers you've got a little bit more tongue to open up down at the bottom there, whereas actually these are starting sort of halfway up that. So that does take a little bit of work. Still rely on a shoehorn just to get them on, just so I don't sort of hammer down the heel cap. Much easier to get it on that way. But yeah, once you've got them on, absolutely fine. Double thickness leather tongue, again a fairly unusual feature for Red Wings, so tongues are normally quite pliable, these are pretty stiff, and that just adds a little bit to that experience of needing work to get them on. The other bit of breaking in a pair of sort of traditionally made boots is the sole, or so rather the footbed and midsole. So you'll see there's a leather insole there, and below that there's a cork midsole layer, and you need to work a little bit for that to get shape to your foot, and we're getting there. It won't happen in the first 6 months, it'll happen in the sort of first year or year or so of wear, but it is breaking in nicely, it's becoming nice and pliable, and just gives that sort of more flexible feeling underfoot as you break them in. In terms of care, very, very simple care regime on these, simply brushing. There's plenty of oil in these leathers. These were actually made in 2018, so they've sat around for a bit, but still absolutely buckets of oil in that leather, and all you need to do is give them a brush, take the dust off, clear out the welts, and move some of that oil around. No need to treat these. Reluctant to treat them in a sense, because as soon as you treat your Oro Original boots, unless there's a magic product that I've yet to try, it might be Bic 5, I haven't tried that, but they will darken. I do quite like these sort of lighter tan tones, so I won't rush into oiling these. So let's get into some close-ups and look at some of the details on these and how they've fared in the first 6 months. Just coming for a few close-ups, and we'll start from the bottom with the Atlas sole. So unlike the similar white Christie sole, this is actually a blown polyurethane. It's got a slightly springier feel to it. It's more lightweight, but actually it does, I think, wear a little bit better than the rubber of the Christie soles. If you follow my channel, if you've had them yourself, you'll know the Christie soles on the 875s, 1907s, all those boots actually wear very, very quickly. This isn't going to be the longest wearing sole by any means, but like my experience with Thorogood boots, I do find this polyurethane sole to wear better in terms of its longevity. These have got their own unique tread pattern, so there's not many Red Wing boots with these on. Still plenty of grip in there, and a little sort of scoop away there to give it a bit more of a heel. Obviously these weren't designed for work in the field, so they weren't too worried about picking up a little bit more extra material. It was designed for work indoors, so you're not going to be traipsing mud around the home or the factory or wherever it might be. So slightly different sole design. As ever, you've got the Goodyear welt around the edge there, so as we always say, recraftable, so the whole sole unit can be peeled off from the leather welt down and renewed. Up at the top here, you've got the Oro Original sort of golden tan leather, really nice and oily, not needing too much care apart from a brush yet. Starting to crease a little bit, as you'd expect. It's a fact of life. Slightly giving on the sides here, making for a comfortable wear. Toes keeping its shape really nicely, and whilst it's quite a pronounced point to the toe, there's no issues with pinching the toes, and I've got a reasonably wide foot, so this is the 210 last. You've got the triple Puritan stitch on the quarters here, and then double stitch elsewhere, and on the heel cap, up the heel stay. As I pointed out in the original video, you've got this nice detail here where you've got the front portion of the shoe and the quarter, but they're joined by a extra slice of leather in there, and it does run nice and thin. It's just this, really just between the stitching, and then that sort of turns into the tongue. Not sure whether that's an aesthetic choice or whether it gives a little bit more opportunities for expansion or stretching out there to fit your foot. It looks nice. If you know why it's there, what it's called, or what other shoes use that design, let me know. Obviously you've got the tongue. I think I mentioned earlier this is a unusually rigid tongue, two-piece construction. On the back here, if you're not familiar with Red Wings, there's a little number, so this is 0918, just down there, if you can see it, and that refers to the month and year of production. Obviously 3 chrome eyelets there. Does start further up the boot than normal, well, on regular Red Wings, so a little bit of effort getting it in. As I say, shoehorn is the way I get around that. Got nice piping detail, a little bit extra compared to the normal, more utilitarian style of Red Wings. So the leather's been split just to create this nice, neat piping detail. Inside you can see the, get some light in there, you can see the leather insole. It's slowly darkening as it breaks in, and that really does ultimately take the shape of your heel and forefoot, to the point of each toe having a little place to go, and the cork midsole below that yields to allow that personalised fit. And finally the Teslan laces, which are indestructible. I've had lots of boots where the laces just fail, but these Red Wing laces are pretty superb. I've had my 875, so what must be 6-7 years now, still on the original laces. Just for point of reference here, maybe so we can get a little bit of a better look at that insole. Got a pair of, or one of the boots without the lacing in, so you can see inside there. See a little heel counter, and the fabric lined vamp forefoot. Yeah. Well, that pretty much brings us to the end of the video. I thought it'd be helpful to share with you the initial experiences of breaking in these Chukkas and my thoughts after 6 months or so wear. As I say, not getting huge amounts of wear, got lots of boots in rotation. These are what I tend to wear into the office, and I work from home half the time. So they're lightly worn, but they're breaking in really nicely. Really, really like having them as part of my collection. Updates to come, and very much owed on the RS setters, so the Gore-Tex 8864s, limited edition. Not sure if you can get them anymore, but you might still be interested to see how they fared. And the classic, always available, perennial Iron Rangers, the 8111s. So I'll be doing an update on those, both 6 months in or so, and obviously want to share some thoughts on those. Okay, well, if you haven't seen the channel before, please check it out. Lots of quality footwear, bit of denim, bit of everyday carry, fountain pens, pen knives, that sort of stuff. Do check it out. You might share some other common interests with me. If you found this video useful, give it a thumbs up. I'd love if you're subscribed. If you've got any opinions, let me know in the comments, and I'll see you for the next video. Okay? Thank you very much. Bye-bye.